On this page, we talk about deep level identity change. We actually go in depth and actually find out what's the real reason you're not actually going for your goals or achieving your goals. We talk about a wide range of subjects, and I'm going to be speaking about them on a regular basis on this channel. So make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also, I've got a link to my newsletter, which is called The Next Chapter. On a week-to-week basis, we understand that you might not always have time to watch a long-form video like this, but you always have 5 or 10 minutes to go through the frameworks that I'm going to be sending into your inbox directly to help you to move towards becoming the sort of person you want to become. See, we cover a wide range of subjects from health, wealth, and relationships. We don't just look at little things you can change, but we look at the bigger picture. If you're not a lazy person, if you're someone who's actually looking to get the real information that's going to actually make a transformation in your life and help you change to become the sort of person you want to be, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to that newsletter, and let's start with the video, guys. Thank you. One of my favorite artists is Jay-Z. And if you're a Jay-Z fan, you know he's got the famous lyric in the song Diamonds Are Forever remix. I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Now, I want to start this video by telling you guys, you need to start treating yourselves like a professional corporate business. So what do I mean by that? See, a business has many different aspects to it, but essentially, if you want to run a successful business, there's a whole load of components that you need to take into consideration before that business can be successful. First things first is when you have a successful business that's going to last decades, centuries, over a long period of time, has to first start with the actual mission that it's going for. Before you start hiring people, before you start bringing people on board, you need to know exactly what your business purpose is and where it stands in the marketplace. See, I speak about a lot in my videos about deep level identity change, and I talk about how in order for you to actually start moving towards the life that you want, you can't just change a few things. You have to actually look inside and see what is something that resonates with you and start moving towards that. Now, a lot of people don't have a mission. They don't know what their purpose is. They don't know what their calling is, whatever word you want to throw towards the goals that they want to achieve. But essentially, they don't know what direction they're moving towards in life. And the problem with that then is that they're just always sort of lingering around in life, stagnating, doing the same things day in and day out. Maybe every here and now they get a spark of inspiration and they start on a project, but very quickly that inspiration they have fizzles out and they're back to square one, doing the exact same thing back in the repetitive cycle. And they can't seem to figure out why they never have enough fire in the tank to actually move towards one thing consistently over a long period of time. It's because they haven't truly defined their brand's mission. See, I've read the book by Phil Knight, which is called Shoe Dog, which is basically about the foundations of Nike. And he talks about essentially, you know, traveling the world and how he used to have a passion for running shoes. And this is basically what inspired Nike's origins. He talks about, I believe, a Japanese type of running shoe that basically was a little bit more comfortable than the shoes he was accustomed to seeing in the United States, and that inspired the Nike design, etc., etc., etc. But he essentially came up with the slogan, "Just do it," through his inspiration of just going on his runs. He wanted to create a brand that basically encourages people to always be taking action. That's basically the foundation of Nike. That was his brand's mission. And this is what I mean about coming up with the mission before he actually started coming up with the plan to sort of create the business itself. He had to create something that was meaningful to him, meaningful to the world, and something that stood for something. See, a lot of people online will tell you not everyone has a purpose, and that's correct. Not every single person is going to naturally be the sort of person that is purpose-driven. We all have different types of motivation. I have a video about different types of motivation, about which type are you, which you can actually see on my page. I'm going to leave a link in the bio to that as well. But essentially, for some of you watching this video, you're similar to myself. In order for you to stay driven and stay on one path, you need to pick something that actually means something to you. So you need to start off with a mission, just like a business. We've all heard of the phrase, birds of a feather flock together. Now, the company you keep is a reflection of your boundaries, your standards, and where you're headed in life. See, if you was running a professional business, it would be very much common sense to know that if you allow toxic employees into the business, these are going to affect the revenue, the environment, the moods of other employees around you, and also you in general as well. This is common sense, and you would probably know and you would probably consider that you need to fire them very quickly. We don't seem to have the same decisiveness when it comes to our own life, like we do when it comes to looking at a business, right? The people and the company you allow in your life are essentially going to affect you in ways that you can't even comprehend. So they're going to affect your mind space. They're going to affect the action that you're taking. They're going to affect the subjects that you're thinking about and the direction that you're moving towards. And similar to a big corporate professional business, you need to make sure that you have the right people around you in order for you to actually move towards the goal that you're moving towards. See, once you've got a brand's mission, you have a direction that you're moving in towards in your life. You've created your purpose, your mission, your goals in life. You can begin to actually bring people into your life that also are aligned with your goals and your purpose. They don't necessarily want to achieve the same thing as you, but you need people who are driven. If you're a driven person, you're going to need people who are also got that fire in the tank that you have. Because otherwise, if you're around people that don't really necessarily care about where they're headed towards, you're also going to have the same level of motivation as them. And your life's going to stagnate and you're not going to head anywhere. The next thing a successful business has is a successful business isn't afraid to hire and fire accordingly. See, for a long time in my life, I've sort of kept people in my life that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I kept them in there simply because we've got shared history. Reaching out to them when they're not reaching out to me. Trying to essentially, motivate them to move in the right direction when they're not self-motivated themselves. And I did this all because I felt I was telling myself I'm being a good friend by doing this. But really, it's because I was scared to actually drop them out and actually break away from the identity that resonates with them in my social circle. But see, if you have that sort of attitude when you're in a business and you're simply afraid to get rid of employees that are affecting the workplace, what's going to happen is they're going to seep into the company culture, and that's going to affect everything. And people are slowly going to be demotivated, and eventually that's going to lead to your company's bankruptcy. And what you have to do is you have to spot these leeches in your company and you have to get rid of them. And you have to do the same in your life. Anyone that's draining your energy, your time, and there's no actual return on investment, you need to learn to just drop them out. There are going to be friends that you have simply because of shared history. That's correct. But you need to basically manage those friendships in a way that they're not affecting what you're doing in your life as well. You wouldn't, if you had a great, successful business, you wouldn't be inviting the friend that's lazy into the business and making him one of the, top executives in terms of employees, would you? You'd maybe leave your business to be your business, and then maybe when you've got a bit of spare time, you would meet up with them and you would do what you need to do. That's how you need to treat your life. When you're on your mission, you need to keep the people around you that are going to help you move towards that mission, and then maybe when you've got spare time, you can spend with those friends that aren't necessarily as driven as you. If that's how you want to do it, it's really up to you. Some people prefer to cut them loose completely. I'm more of an empath, so I'm kind of more of a keep them in your life, but of course limit the amount of times that you see them. And also similar to a business has KPIs. These are essentially the goals, micro goals and macro goals that the company is moving towards in order to achieve what they need to achieve. You need to essentially have things that you're trying to tick off in life, just like a business. You need to have your own KPIs, a plan of action essentially to move towards the right direction. And you need to be absolutely ruthless with the way in which you treat these goals. You can't just dilly-dally and sort of procrastinate on them. You've got to understand that just like a company, when they dilly-dally on their KPIs, that can lead to them going bankrupt, making major redundancies in the company, having to close the company, things like that. That's how you need to treat your goals. You need to think that if you don't get these achieved, then there's major repercussions for that. Any leaks in your standards, any leaks in your boundaries, any leaks in your discipline, your habit making abilities, your focus, any sort of leaks are going to affect the baseline. They're going to affect you moving towards this goal. But if you start seeing yourself like a business, start treating yourself like a business, then you start understanding that you need to address these leaks as soon as possible. You need to stop procrastinating on addressing the real problems that are affecting you on a day-to-day basis. See, that's our problem. What we do is we spot these leaks and then we don't typically address them as soon as possible. And what happens is eventually they compound, and later on down the line, they become problems so big that it's too late to actually get rid of them. Don't let leaks into your life or into your business. The businesses that last the longest and that are able to make an impact in history are the businesses that came up with a mission and moved relentlessly towards that thing over a long period of time. What you've got to do is you've got to pick something that means something to you. You've got to find like-minded people. You've got to make sure you manage the leaks in the business. You've got to hire and fire accordingly. And you also got to make sure that you're always managing the company around you. People are going to be demotivated sometimes, just like employees. You've got to make sure that you're the leader, you're the person who sees the bigger picture, and you're helping everyone move towards the right direction. See, a good business allows every single person that's a part of that business to prosper in one way or another. You need to look at yourself as a business metaphorically and think to yourself that your success is going to help many other people to prosper in life. You need to take more risks. You need to be very relentless in your pursuit to greatness, and you need to keep going down that path. You need to dream like an artist, and you need to move like a mastermind. You need the creativity of a Michael Jackson, but the strategic mind of a Michael Corleone. I'm going to keep this one short, guys, because there's not too much I can say other than that. Otherwise, I'll be repeating myself. It's just a subject I came up with literally 5 minutes before I started recording. Thought I'd make it quick. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've got a very in-depth video coming up next, and I'll see you guys in the next video. My name's Tino. See you soon.